Hi, I'm Angus Kress Gillespie, your host for Old Ways in New Jersey. I'm here with Michael Gabriele, author of the book, The History of Diners in New Jersey, which was published by the History Press. A lifelong Garden State resident, Michael has worked as a journalist and a freelance writer for more than 40 years. However, today, we want to focus on his diner book. In this book, Michael Gabriele investigated why the Garden State is universally recognized as the diner capital of the world. I'm pleased that Michael Gabriele is able to join us here in East Brunswick today. Michael, why is New Jersey considered the diner capital of the world?
Well, there's two big reasons. The first reason is we have more diners here in the state than any other state.
I see.
So how many? Maybe nowadays, maybe 500, 550.
Wow.
Give or take a few.
That's like 10 per township.
Yeah, there's a lot of diners. So a lot of diners, and also, just as important, in the 20th century, we were the diner manufacturing capital of the world. There were other places where they built diners, but most of the major United States diner builders were here in New Jersey. And this is the era when diners were factory built, prefabricated, modular, engineered products. So those are the two main reasons. So.
Yeah, very convincing.
I think so.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
How do you define a diner?
Well, there's a couple of ways. There are purists. I mean, everybody wants, well, what's a real diner? All right. The best way I can tell you is there are the original vintage factory-built modular prefabricated diners. Most of them were built in the 20th century in New Jersey and other places too. And then that factory era more or less disappeared. Now we have modern diners, many of which are site-built,
purpose-built,
right, or retrofitted into a storefront property.
Yeah.
Now some people say, well, they're not really diners. Well, yeah, they're diners.
So the second category, it's based more or less on the layout and the menu.
On the menu,
and the hours.
You really have to go with the vibe of the place. A diner is it's a friendly, easy access place. It's egalitarian.
Yeah, okay.
Everybody's invited. It's informal. The type of food they have, you can get breakfast most of the time, any time of the day. Some diners stay open 24 hours. Some don't. So there's plenty of ways to define diners. But the main way to think of it is, yes, and I'm a purist. There are the vintage factory-built diners of the 20th century. And then there are the modern diners. Basically, by the year 2000, most of the factory guys were phased out. We don't have any more factory diners in the United States anymore. And in fact, diner manufacturers, I should say.
When was the last one built in New Jersey?
Well, it was either a diner that got shipped to Staten Island, like around 2005, 2027, built by PMC. Herb Enyart. And then there was another diner right around the same time. I'm not quite sure which came first or last, but the Coleman Company. They built a diner called the Silver Moon Diner, which was shipped to Baltimore. And the Coleman Company, they were around for many, many years, 3 generations, family owned, and they had gotten to the point where they realized that the diner business, the call for factory-built diners was really fading out. So they transferred a lot of that manufacturing technology to other areas. And I asked Robert Coleman.
How do you spell Coleman?
Kullman,
okay.
Coleman family.
Yeah.
So he was the 3rd generation. I asked him, I said, Robert, remember you told me the last diner that you built in the factory was was the Silver Moon. He said, yeah, that's right. I said, did you know it at the time was going to be the last one? He kind of gave me a sad smile. He said, yeah, we knew it. We knew it. That was the last one.
Oh, that's sad.
So that was, so think of that, that's kind of the end of the era.
Yeah. So give me an example of the classic diner in New Jersey.
The best one I can think of, very easy to do, would be the Summit Diner in downtown Summit, right near the Summit train station. Built in 1938 by the O'Mahony Company, which was based in Elizabeth. Now that's, if you had to point to one golden age, vintage, beautiful, there's your classic factory-built diner, as is. It's a miracle, because most diners change.
Yeah. What's the ancestor of the diner?
The ancestor of the diner is the lunch wagon.
Ah,
the lunch wagon. There's a history there. The lunch wagon, that concept started in Providence, Rhode Island, in what they, another diner historian has identified as 1872, a man named Walter Scott. He realized that when, in downtown Providence, when people were getting out of their factories and printing plants at second shift, nowhere for them to go. Maybe they didn't want to go home right away. Maybe they wanted to hang out with their friends and have a cup of coffee. Also in that era, going out to eat, radical concept. Rich people went out to eat. Middle class, working class people, they didn't go out to eat, they couldn't afford it. They ate at a lunch wagon, and they served coffee, hard-boiled eggs, sandwiches, cookies. That business became very popular.
At an affordable price.
At an affordable price. And a place where, again, it didn't matter who you were, how you're dressed, where you came from, you'd get served. It's very much a welcoming atmosphere. So that business really became very popular. Pretty soon, the business was so popular, companies started building wagons specifically for food distribution, because Walter Scott, I guess, must have taken an old farm wagon or something and retrofitted it, made it to his purposes. So now you had people building lunch wagons for food distribution and building them so you could actually walk inside and have a little counter. And you'd get your breakfast right, the grill would be right there, everything would be built. So that's the precursor to modern diners, and also the precursor to what's the big thing today? Food trucks. Whether people who run food trucks, whether they know it or not, they have ancestral origins to the lunch wagon. Same thing, same thing.
You know, I'm thinking in Port Newark, there's a food truck, but what it really, it's a school bus that was converted in.
Yeah, they can do that, sure.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah. Same idea though. It's a place, it's street fare.
Yeah.
You're going to the place where people work, and that's what the lunch wagons did back in the 1870s and 80s and 90s. There was a man, his name was Peter Kurten, and he had one of the first lunch wagon proprietors that I uncovered, maybe there were more, 1894 in Trenton, New Jersey. And he became a legend. He was like a celebrity in Trenton because of this lunch wagon that he ran. So, yeah.
So, Michael, what kind of a person becomes an operator of a diner?
A lot of different people. In the early days, because this was such a new business, a lot of people were taken by the idea. You would have maybe people who were teachers or police officers or factory workers. Maybe they wanted to change a job, or maybe they were a little more entrepreneurial. They saw the value of having their own business. Maybe they didn't want to work in an office. Maybe they didn't want a boss. Maybe they didn't want to work in a factory. So they were attracted to this idea of putting in long hours and hard work, but you can make a pretty good buck. It's the same, like I say, the same nowadays, same thing with food truck operators.
Yes.
They like the freedom. They like people. They like working with their hands. Same thing. Same thing.
But a follow-up, weren't many of them Greek immigrants? What's the story there?
That came about by natural processes. In the early days, there were a lot of people who ran lunch wagons and food trucks and diners. German people did, Italian people did. The Greeks started, and This is when there were waves of immigration back in the late 1800s, early 1900s.
Yes.
The Germans, the Irish, the Italians, the Greeks. And however that works, I mean, I'm of Italian ancestry. A lot of Italian people went into the construction trade. A lot of the Irish people became firemen and police officers. Why? I don't know. So the Greeks.
I have a guess.
Yeah.
It's because the first guy did it and invited his relatives to come join him.
Probably. So here's the story. Here's the classic story I'm always told by the diner, the old timers, the guys who are running diners nowadays. Yeah. They're Greek. And they say, well, when I was a teenager, you know, I came to the United States, or I jumped ship, whatever that means. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I had an aunt and an uncle, and they lived in Jersey City. Okay, you know, okay, Demetrios, you know, welcome to America. Go out and get a job. Now, there were limited opportunities. Okay.
So I get it.
So what was one of the few places that they could work would be working in a diner or a lunch wagon, being a dishwasher or waiting tables, or if they were good enough, they could work behind the counter and be a short order cook. Yeah. I guess they were good at it. Yeah. It just kept rolling along. Pretty soon they saved their money, they learned how the business worked, and when the time came, they started buying the diners, and they bought more, and they called back to Greece and said, hey, come on, we need a couple more cousins to come over here and help us out. That's, I think, roughly, that's kind of how it happened. Yeah. It's been explained to me that way by a man, a Montclair State professor who is a Greek historian, and he told me that's kind of the way it worked.
Well, totally sounds plausible.
I think so, yeah.
So, changing the topic a little, what role did taverns play in New Jersey?
Well, taverns, kind of the same thing. It's a hospitality business. It's a place where people can walk in and feel comfortable, and it's informal. The interesting thing is, back in the 17 and 1800s, of course, no diners, but New Jersey was famous for all of its taverns on the post roads and the King highways.
Yeah.
Lots and lots of taverns.
Like every 20 miles.
Yes, and these were places where the horse-drawn coaches would come through, and they were places you could eat, you could get lodging, you could get entertainment, sometimes music would be there. Yeah. And it's the same idea. You would come and you could have you could kind of cool your heels and have a good time. And so New Jersey has that hospitality. Believe it or not, we're a very hospitable state. I mean, a lot of people don't think so, but we have the hospitality gene well ingrained in us. So we know how to take care of travelers and local people. So it's the same kind of thing that happened. Taverns in the 1800s, and then diners in the 1900s. Yeah.
And how did the business change in the 1950s?
Well, the business is always changing.
Of course.
Always changing. And I understand people, when you have like your favorite neighborhood diner and there's a new owner, or they decide to change the name, or they put a new front on it or new roof, people get a little uneasy about that.
Yeah.
Change is hard. I understand that. I live in Clifton. They've just redesigned the TikTok Diner, which is...
Oh, dear.
Yeah. Well, okay, so it's different. Different, depends how you think of it. But now, over the years, just all the time, diners would come and go, new people would own them. The TikTok, when people say, oh, gee, they changed the old TikTok. Well, guess what? The TikTok that's there now is the third TikTok that was on that site. So there was a stainless steel TikTok, stainless steel diner built in Patterson from the 1950s. They took that diner away. They built another diner by the Musey Company. That was more like a restaurant. They took that diner, moved it down to South Jersey. That's now the Mays Landing Diner. And then in 1994, the Coleman Company built what's today the TikTok, which just got renovated. So people say it's, oh, gee, why did they have to change it? Well, business is always changing. And I don't want to sound too cavalier about it, but that's kind of the story. The business is always evolving. Always evolving.
Yeah. Does a diner have to have a counter?
The counter keeps getting smaller and smaller, which to me, there's a purist in me coming out. Yeah. Because
I've noticed that. Yeah.
When I go to a diner, the best place to sit when you go to a diner is the counter. because that's where you're going to meet all the interesting people. Other people who are coming and going, the truck drivers, the people who are, traveling salesmen, the people who are passing through.
The cop, the
Yeah,
mailman.
and they sit down next to you. Oh, how you doing? Oh, fine. I noticed you have a panel truck out there. Well, yeah, well, I have electronic equipment. Oh, where are you going? Oh, I'm going up to Maine. Oh, yeah, where? My cousin lives in Maine. That's the Americana spirit. So yeah, the counter keeps getting smaller and smaller because it's the restaurant and the diner
more
business.
like a restaurant.
That's right. The restaurant and the diner concept they've merged. So it's nice when you can sit at a counter, and that's where you get served. That's where you meet the waitress and the cook.
Especially if you're by yourself.
If you're by yourself, yeah. So that's where you're going to meet people. So it's nice. A diner should have a counter. The old lunch wagons, that's all they had was a counter.
Yeah.
15, 16 stools, the counter, and then right behind the counter was the grill. And that's in the old days, the food was good, but then there's the entertainment value. The cook would be a guy who could sing and whistle and juggle eggs, and you would smell the food, and you'd watch him cook your food, and that was all part of the allure. Yeah.
It's like flipping an omelet too high.
Right.
To put on a show.
Yeah, it's all right. It's definitely showmanship. Yeah. Absolutely.
So how did the rise of fast foods impact the diner business?
Well, diners were very popular along the East Coast, and we're going back to the 20s, 30s, 40s, even the 1950s. In the Midwest and the Southeast, and even more towards the West, they didn't have diners. They had drive-ins, diners, drive-ins, and not drive-in movie theaters, drive-in restaurants. We have some here in New Jersey, Stewart's, those are drive-ins. You drive your car into the parking lot, up to the place, and you're expected to be served at your car. People like that. They didn't really go for the diner thing too much. I don't know, it was kind of a cultural difference. Drive-ins started in Texas in the 1920s, and they had their own culture and their own architecture, and a lot of the fast food chains that we know today, they started as drive-ins. And it's a different business model than a diner, than a locally owned diner.
Because you eat in a car.
You eat in your car. But
and also, weren't there radios like you could talk on the radio?
Yeah, you could, or the pretty girl would come with the roller skates and that kind of stuff. Yeah, so
that's an entertainment aspect.
That is absolutely dinner and a show. So so a lot of those early fast food chains started out as drive-ins, and their business models evolved, and they became more like restaurants, fast food restaurants, and then they moved east. And I think it was in Life magazine in October of 1961 or 2, McDonald's ran its first national ad campaign. They were coming
east.
Now, did they displace a lot of mom and pop diners along the highways and byways? Yeah, they did. Is that good or bad? It's not for me to say. We're a capitalist, free market society. Whoever has the best business plan works. Fortunately, here in New Jersey, we've got a lot of fast food chains, but we still have a lot of our good, and a lot of our old school diners have remained. They've survived. They exist, and people support them. So I think that's great.
Yeah. Do diners serve liquor?
Some do. Some do, and I'm always a little kind of surprised when do I want to drink? Well, I'll have coffee. No, do you want to the redesigned TikTok? Their counter faces a full bar with whiskey and wine and beer, and you can have it's not actually something brand new. Tops Diner in East Newark, they have a bar. The Clinton Station Diner on Route 78 there, they have a bar. So it's, diners have to, and again, people are going to say, well, it's a diner. You're not supposed to serve liquor in a diner. Well, a lot of diners, some diners do. They have to be competitive. It's a business. See, people like me get, it's romantic and nostalgic.
You're sentimental.
Yeah, but the people that run diners, they're a little sentimental, but they got to make money. So they must figure that, they had to buy a liquor license for them to compete. So, okay.
The others, can you bring your own?
You could, I guess.
But it's not customary.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
And, you go somewhere else to drink liquor.
Do we go with Taylor ham or pork roll?
Okay, again, another controversial topic. I know people become completely hysterical about this.
I'm stirring the pot.
I don't think they should. All right, here's this. You want the short history of?
Give me the short version.
All right. John Taylor was an entrepreneur in the Trenton area in the mid 1850s. He invented what he called Taylor ham. It's a processed pork product. Now, he originally marketed it as Taylor ham, but then in the early 1900s, the United States passed a law for food inspection and distribution. You had to list all of your ingredients in the proper order on your package. Well, now, see, this is something I never knew. There's ham and there's pork. Ham is only the thigh and the back end of a pig. That's ham. Pork is any other meat on the ham. I never knew that.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
I'm learning it now for the first time.
I was very fortunate. I talked to a woman. She was Jenna Pizzi, was her name, and she wrote the Taylor Ham Cookbook. She explained all this. So when that law went into effect, no ham in Taylor ham, so they called it pork roll.
Who knew?
Who knew? So now it's Taylor ham in the northern half of the state and pork roll in the central and southern part of the state. The official and scientifically accurate name is, and I have to admit this, is pork roll because there's no, but I'm still going to call it Taylor ham. And if that makes people mad, you know what? I don't care.
Well, we have all kinds of stuff like that in New Jersey.
Yeah.
Is it a sub or is it a hoagie?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. This is like fun stuff. This is these are inside New Jersey jokes. This is part of what makes New Jersey click. I like that. It's a nice conversation to have. So pork roll, Taylor ham. It's all New Jersey. It's all good.
So I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay, go ahead.
What's your favorite diner?
Wow. All right. That's a tough one. Now I would have to say. Well, all right. Can I?
You can fudge.
Can I fudge a little bit?
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
My favorite sentimental diner is always going to be the TikTok because I've been going there since I was a teenager.
Because that's your personal.
That was my when I was a kid. When I would go out with my friends, we'd go out somewhere, out to see a show, or we'd go to New York. Come home, it'd be like 1 o'clock in the morning. We'd go to the TikTok because that's where we lived.
Yeah.
That's on Route 3 in Clifton. So a sentimental favorite, and the food is good. But now I'd have to say, if you're going to pin me down, the diner with the best food, it's tough.
It's a matter of taste.
It's a tough, but hard to beat Mustache Bill on Long Beach Island. Mustache Bill, he's the gold standard. He's the real deal. And Mustache Bill Smith, who has a mustache, he won a James Beard Award in 2009.
Wow.
This guy, he's what's happening. And the food is all fresh seafood from down the shore. Pancakes are absolutely wonderful. Mustache Bill, he's got it going. He's trending. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
A close second would be the diner in Keyport, the Broad Street Diner. Wonderful couple, bought it a couple of years ago. What they've done with that place is amazing. So Mustache Bill, Broad Street Diner in Keyport, and TikTok as a sentimental favorite. But there's plenty of nice diners.
Well, you're giving me some ideas.
Yeah. Go when you're down the shore. Mustache Bills.
Okay. Why is the Bendix Diner so popular with truckers?
Well, mainly because of geography and location. The Bendix is an old line diner, probably built in the late 1940s by the Master Diner Company. They were in Pequannock. And the Bendix sits at the intersection of 17 going north and 46 going east and west.
I know it well.
Yeah. So now
it's a big parking lot too.
That's why it's still a truck driver diner. Because it's got that big piece of triangular property, the long parking lot. The truckers can pull in there very easily, park their rigs, go inside, and have a good meal. So that's what. And this is one of the storied diners in New Jersey. One of the ones that everybody knows about. So it's in movies and commercials and videos, and so there's a good golden age Jersey diner for you. Yeah.
Here's an easy one.
Okay.
Why are diners more than just a place to eat?
diners are more than just a place to eat. And a diner guy who bought a New Jersey built diner, and it was shipped, restored, and now operates in Ohio. And I was talking to him, and he says how much, he admires the New Jersey diner culture, and he's so, this is wonderful that, he said, he told me, diners are more than just a place to eat, meaning it's food, it's good food, but it's the atmosphere, and it's the people, and it's the memories and the stories. So diners are more than just a place to eat, and food is only half the meal. More than just, right? You're eating food, but you're talking, you're making memories. This is a place you used to come to when you were in high school or when you were in college. You go there after a dance, or you go there on a date. These are the memories. It's a diner's got to be attached to the community or the region where it is. It's all that kind of nostalgia. That's a big part of it. Can't dismiss that. That's a big part of the New Jersey diner culture, the diner spirit in New Jersey. Yeah.
And following up on that, can you describe the atmosphere of the Wheatquake Diner in Newark?
Oh boy. Before I do, by the way, all of you people out there in television land, I've never found a picture of the Wheatquake Diner. I've been looking for it for like 5 years. I can't find it. There's the postcard. Don't tell me about the postcard. I know about the postcard. I've been to the Newark Museum. I've been to the Newark Library. Can't find it. Want a black and white picture of the Wheatquake Diner. Now, the Wheatquake Diner was the place back in the 30s and 40s. It was when people said, let's go out to the diner tonight, everybody knew you were talking about the Wheatquake. That was the place. It was operated by the Bauman family, and all kind of stories associated with that. When Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons, when they were first getting started on their careers, they would go to a nightclub and they would go to the Wheatquake Diner.
Wow. Okay.
And Wheatquake was part of the Newark neighborhood. So now 3 o'clock in the morning, open 24 hours. So in would walk the ladies of the night, and in would walk the alleged mobsters. In would walk the police officers. They'd all be sitting at the counter. They'd all be looking at each other. Nobody said anything. They'd eat their food. Truce, neutral ground. There's a Jersey story for you.
I like that.
There's a Jersey story for you. Nobody messed with each other. There was a safe haven right there. Everybody could come in.
It's a truce of peace.
Yes. Yeah. So the Wheatquake was. I mean, I was never there. The operation probably closed sometime in the early 1970s, but everybody gets all misty-eyed when they talk about the Wheatquake Diner.
Is the building gone?
Building's gone.
Yeah. Here's another easy one, I guess. Why are diner menus so big?
That I don't know. I don't know, and that must have evolved, I guess, sometime in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. The old style diner concept would be almost like like the little insert specials of the day.
Oh yeah.
Diners back in those days, it wasn't fast food. It was good, wholesome, affordable American food, fast service. So every day they'd have a special plate of the day. Every day they'd have a special soup, a special dessert.
So if you want to save time, you'd be wise to order the special.
Right, and you knew what they made that consistent. So if you wanted a turkey sandwich, you'd go there on Wednesday.
Yeah.
So I guess it must be a competitive thing. I mean, they have these big phone book menus. Nobody asked me, but if you want my opinion, and not many people do, but I would like to see diners maybe get back a little more to more of a limited menu, more fresh food that day, specials of the day. I think that's how they could distinguish themselves from restaurants. Yeah.
Well, Michael, thank you so much for sharing all your knowledge, and we'll look for your book.
You're welcome.
What's the title of the book?
Well, this is the book that came out in 2013, The History of Diners in New Jersey, published by my publisher, the History Press, which I love the History Press, and you can find it in bookstores, or you can find it online, and if you come to one of my lectures, I'd be happy to sell you a copy too.
Well, thank you for sharing with us.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure and good to see you again. Thank you, Angus.
Okay.